Hi there, everybody, and welcome back to Conversations with Dental Friends, the go-to podcast for dental professionals who want to take their careers to the next level and build a path that truly works for them. I'm Rachel, and just before we get started, I would love it if you could take a couple of seconds and give the podcast a quick follow. I know this isn't something that you would automatically think of doing, but it helps more dental professionals find Conversations with Dental Friends and make sure that you receive a new episode straight to your phone every week. On this episode, I'm joined by Naomi Bingham, the co-owner of Moira Cosmetic Dental and the definition of someone who does it all, running a family-run practice with a strong brand and aesthetic, along with her husband Derek, who is a principal dentist. Naomi has mastered the art of balancing business, branding and everything in between. Whether you feel like you have more to bring to your practice, thinking about stepping into ownership yourself, or just curious about what it really takes to build a strong, modern dental brand, this episode is for you. So let's get into it. Hello, Naomi.
Hello, Rachel.
Welcome to Conversations with Dental Friends. Thank you so much for taking part in my podcast project 2025.
Thank you for inviting me. I just hope that I can fulfill your expectations.
You will fulfill my expectations and more. Naomi and I have known each other for a very long time because you took a chance on me as a very fresh-faced, newly qualified dental hygienist, but you had your practice before then. So let's start at the beginning. What's your journey into the dental world been like? How did you get into dentistry and where are you now in 2025?
It's completely accidental. There was no plan for it whatsoever. So my boyfriend, Derek, at the time, was a dentist. I was really, really young. So I was 18 and I was doing a degree at the University of Ulster. It was like a speech and language therapy. I had chosen it because I have felt that it would get me a good job, and I was trying to be sensible. And I was like, oh, I got the grades for that, I'll go and do that. And I hated it, and it was really science-based. And I can remember one of the first things on the course was you had to learn all about the inside of the mouth and all the science based on the inside of the mouth and the throat and the...
I actually think part of my course was with speech and language.
Yeah.
Now that you say that, that's like triggered a little memory in my brain.
And I'm so unscientific, and I was like, this is not for me. And around that time, Derek had decided that he wanted to buy his own practice, and he had found this practice in Moira for sale. And I hated my course, and I hated it so much. What I always wanted to do was politics. And so I said to Derek, look, if I drop out of this course and I go back and do a politics degree, will you give me... I don't even think I did ask him. It just ended up working in part. And that was that. Then I decided to do my dental nursing and discovered that I had to learn all about the inside of the mouth again. So yeah, it was coming back here, and turns out I am scientific in a certain way.
I was so surprised when you said that. Yes, I do actually think you are scientific.
I was always writing essays and everything was my thing. Yes. And then I went back to University of Ulster again and did business management then. I just had to accept my fate. It really just happened by accident. And then we got married. When I think about it now, having a 12-year-old daughter makes me realise how young I was when I got married and how young I was when Derek bought the practice. I was 18 and I was doing more and more and more and more and more. So it was like the 1920,
it's crazy.
Hiring people. And when I reflect on that now, I think I really didn't know what I was doing, but you kind of just had to pretend you knew what you were doing. And the girls that had worked there, when I think about that now, I laugh, because imagine somebody coming in, no experience in dentistry, and then congratulations, I'm now your boss.
But I think if you're good enough, you're old enough.
Well, you have to just pretend you know what you're doing until you do.
What else is there for it?
Remember one time Derek had to go to a course. I just went with him and I was like, this is really interesting. And it was a clinical course. And I was really, really interested. And then I was going to the business courses, clinical courses, and the nurses courses and things like that. And I was like, I love this. This is really interesting. Favourite things.
Fantastic. Something I always think whenever I think about Moira Cosmetic Dental is the strength of the brand. It's so consistent and it's so clear and recognisable as Moira Cosmetic Dental. Was that always something that was part of the vision from day one, or did that also evolve over time?
I think this is where my and Derek's partnership really, he had that really strong vision, and that was why he was looking his own dental practice. For him, one of the things that was really important was that he could choose his staff.
Yes.
And that they would be high quality.
Yeah.
And that they'd be really well trained. And that he would be able to choose what treatments that he provided. And he wanted to, and back then, Invisalign wasn't a massive thing in Northern Ireland. He was one of the first folks doing Invisalign, but he wanted people, if they were coming in for Invisalign, he wanted them to come into an environment where it wasn't just your average dental practice. And I think that was where our partnership came, because he wanted that. But I think I was able to bring that to life. So I found that I love shiny things, new things, anything like that. So these were all projects for me and things that I could do. And then that project be over and I could move on to the next project. So we're just doing things like getting exact. It's crazy to think that we didn't have exact. So back then, and decorating the practice and everything, even small things like that.
And decorating has always been a real strength of Moira Cosmetic Dental.
Yeah, it's definitely one of my favourite things to do.
It's such a lovely, if anybody hasn't been there, it's such a beautiful practice to come in, and it doesn't feel like a dental practice that's delivering really great dentistry, which I thought was always fantastic.
Yeah, and I think Derek as well, he treats a lot of nervous patients.
Yes.
So from that, I figured out, well, like, patients are coming in, they hate coming to the dentist. This place can't look like a dental practice. They will have to have a different, so even like the smell and everything, we were trying and mask the smell of full like clinicalness, and we're on rituals at the minute. So
we love
film. Yeah, so
very nice.
So Derek did have that really strong vision, and I suppose Derek's he wouldn't be so great at articulating that, but I got it.
Yes.
And then I suppose from there, writing vision, mission, aims of the practice and trying to write down the culture and everything. Recently there, we were a team training day course, and it was with Practice Pal, and they were saying, you need to do this. So I was like, I have this somewhere, but we never really use it now for induction and everything. So we got it out at the last staff meeting there actually, and we went through it.
And it's still kind of reintroduced.
It's just still everything. There was nothing that needed change. We don't talk about this, but
we're doing it.
We're doing it. We're living it. So that vision that was always there. So the brand was, the yellow door.
Yes.
It's not exciting now, but in 2012 when we painted the yellow door in Moira, which is quite an old-fashioned town,
it was a real standout.
It was, and we went for that sort of yellow, and it was like yellow door. All our post was posted with yellow envelopes and everything. So it was all that end of the brand, but it was more about culture as well. I knew that Derek felt really strongly that he wanted a strong team. He wanted, if the receptionist picking up the phone and saying, I'll ring you back in 20 minutes, it's really important that that patient runs back in 20 minutes.
I love that. If you didn't own your own practice, what do you think you'd be doing instead? Do you see yourself as someone who would always run their own business in some sort of capacity?
Yeah, I wasn't doing speech and language therapy, that was for sure. I know, and I always wanted to go into politics, and I had said about that earlier, and you're saying when you run your own business, I would have to run my own political
you would
party, because nobody the party that would subscribe to my views on anything.
I remember around COVID, Naomi and I worked together around COVID, and we were talking, obviously all the dental practices closed, and we were talking about how we can use our skills and maybe going into some sort of a healthcare nursing field. And you said to me, well, I'd have to go in as a sister. I think definitely there would be always that level of you're in there and you have such a clear vision of where you would want somewhere to go and where everything is. So I definitely see you as something in business. I think you've so many great business attributes.
Yeah, I don't know what I would do, anything fascinating or anything, but I feel like I would just have to work for myself, just apart from anything else. I'm never in time for anything. Nobody could follow me.
It's a source of time today.
No. I'm half joking, but I would be a disaster.
I think it's
because it's this. I was saying to her, I was training a nurse this morning on hygiene, and she was doing really, really well, and I was able to, you can just picture it. I was starting to reply to a few emails, when she was suctioning behind me or whatever. And then I was like, I'll take those instruments over, put them in decon, nipped out of the surgery with the instruments, and then something else happened, and then 2 hours later I found the box of dirty instruments that hadn't even made it out of your building. And I'm thinking, I couldn't be employed for that reason. I'm like, shiny thing.
I understand.
But actually, since we work together, I have been diagnosed with ADHD. So
you have. But I think ADHD brings a lot of There's so many.
It's a superpower. Yeah, absolutely.
Really creative. Obviously, you're the business owner of Moira Cosmetic Dental, but you wear a lot of hats within the business, and we've touched on this very briefly, but you are in charge of social media, content creation, HR, management, sometimes even stepping in as a dental nurse or the TCO when you were required. Out of all of those roles you play, which one do you love the most?
I suppose the ADHD thing comes into play here. I love them all.
Yes. I knew you were going to say
I love them all for a little short period of time, and I'm so well supported. I suppose what I'm really good at is the thing that I really want to do that day.
Yes.
So
I understand what you mean.
I will, yeah. And I love, like this morning I was training a dental nurse in hygiene, and this girl has never worked with a hygienist before. So I wanted to be the first person that introduced her to hygiene because I'm so enthusiastic about it. And I was like
champion of dental hygiene.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. So I wanted to be the first person that she met just for that reason, and not because nobody else could have trained her, but their priorities would be different. To me, the important thing about training her this morning is about getting her on board with hygiene and how important it is, and I think all those other things can be taught. But if you miss that opportunity to make somebody enthusiastic about something,
that first impression of the room and the setup and all of those things that are very Moira Cosmetic Dental that maybe not all dental practices do. So I totally agree that bit has to be great from the beginning. So I knew you were going to say that you enjoy everything. I really feel you're
like TCO. When we introduced TCO to the practice, again, it was a really new role. Probably wouldn't have been very many in Northern Ireland, and maybe as far back as 2008 I was going to be doing TCO. But I also feel as well that I always feel like I can get something so far, and then I need somebody who's better than me to come in and finish it.
I understand.
So we have Julie now as our TCO. Yeah, she is amazing. So she'll do a better job than I ever do. But I really enjoy getting TCO up and running, and it's another role within the practice that I'm really passionate about. And I like whenever we do something new with it or something changed, but I couldn't go in and do that.
And Moira was the first practice where I had ever worked alongside a TCO or had that TCO role in the practice, and really integral to a smooth run of the day-to-day is having the TCO there. So I just think it is such an important role in the practice. Owning your own practice must come with a whole load of challenges. What's been one of the biggest hurdles that you faced, and how did you navigate it?
I don't know if I'm just saying this because I'm a little affected with it at the moment, but I think recruitment
is huge.
And it's always been an issue. And I can remember many years ago, it was a different issue than what we have now. I can remember many years ago, if you advertised maybe for a trainee and you maybe got 30 or 40 applicants in, and you looked at them and you're like, well, 20 of these, there's no reason not to give them an interview. And you could book, and maybe some people wouldn't turn up, or they would turn up and they would be like, oh, I didn't realise I had to book a check to do the course, or oh, I didn't realise these were going to be the hours. I didn't realise it involved GDC registration. Didn't know there would be blood. Yeah. And you could invest so much time doing all these interviews. So I remember quite a few times actually, we used to hold open night.
Yeah.
And just
I remember being involved in an open night. Yeah. I actually thought that was such a good idea.
When you bring everybody in and we sort of just like, this is what the role entails.
Yes.
And you have to have your maths and your English, and you have to go to tech this night, and it's on this night, and these are the holidays, and this is the pay. And just say at the end, if anybody wants to stay for an interview, you're welcome. And you'd actually find that the crowd would dissipate.
Yes.
Thank you. Really quickly, and then you're left with actual,
But that's a such a good approach, because you haven't invested in a person to...
This is when you're trying to get somebody to like probation trial, and you'd have all these applicants, and that was, at the time I used to think this is a challenge. But here we are now in 2025, and you put on a job advert, you're not getting an applicant. I would go back to those days, and then you maybe do get applicants. You maybe get somebody then who does trial and probation and everything that goes well, but then actually 6 months down the line, it's not for them, it's not their vibe, or they're not great, or they don't get on with the team, and I don't know if it's better or worse.
I think with nursing at the minute, I think it's the instant gratification life, where sometimes dental nursing is a slow burner, and people don't give it the time maybe that it deserves to really find your feet with it, because it's a really hard job.
Yeah, it is hard. As you say, it is a slow burner and people don't want to give it time. They just want to come in and they don't want to put the effort in, and it's a fantastic job. And I have 3 girls in the house, and actually I wouldn't push any of them to be dentists. If we go on dental nursing and hygiene therapy are fantastic jobs for women who are maybe going to want families and have that work-life balance and everything. So yeah, recruitment's recruitment system, massive issue. I always thought it was a problem, but now it's a whole other type of problem.
But you always manage to overcome it. There will always be that person eventually, and I think a lot of it is grit and resilience of the practice to find the right person.
And not employ somebody just for the sake of employing somebody when you know they're not going to be a good fit, but you have that space.
You don't want just a warm body.
You don't, and you're trying to keep your, the team are like, well, we're under pressure, so we want somebody to fill the gap, but also they don't want somebody to fill the gap who isn't a good fit. So it's trying to get that balance of not leaving your team short-staffed, but letting them understand that we need to get somebody that's going to fit. There's no point in bringing somebody in that's not going to fit or cause trouble or upset the apple cart or not be on brand. So it is really tough.
At the end of it all, you do nail it. I have worked with some fabulous, fabulous dental nurses and many, many fabulous people at Moira Cosmetic Dental who have given me so much joy. If you were a person, someone working in a practice right now, having dizzying daydreams of setting up their own practice, what's one piece of advice that you would give them?
I would be so encouraging to anybody who wants. It's so exciting. And
it's so exciting.
Such a passion project, and I would never discourage anybody from doing it, but you see at the minute, don't do it unless you're going in, or unless you're opening a practice and you have your dentists and your hygienists and your nurses and you have them all lined up and it's in stone. You are going to struggle. Just plan out a great location. You can have loads of potential for patients, great marketing, great all those things. But if you don't have this team, you're sunk, because the thing is, you have an unreliable team, and then you're having to cancel patients and everything. So I suppose that would be my thing. But I don't know if that's because I'm jaded at the moment, because I'm in the middle of looking for somebody at the moment.
I think what you said at the beginning there, the excitement of having that dream be realised, getting those keys, getting over the line. I'm sure you just wish you could bottle that feeling of opening your own practice.
And I think I would gladly open 20 practices. It's 9 months, 12 months in.
Yes.
It's like, well, this is actually back to porridge. And I suppose that's where that being a practitioner, that resilience kind of comes in, where you just...
I think if you did personality testing on everybody that's a practice owner, that trait of grit and resilience would be there in everybody that has taken that leap to own their own practice.
Yeah.
Keep stepping forward. It could be worse.
It could be worse. And just, it's that resilience. Is that just doing this, getting up every day and doing what needs to be done, and whether that's changing light bulbs or looking for a staff member or just doing it and
you have to be willing to do everything, I suppose. That was one of the things I always felt in Moira, was there was no job that nobody was willing to do themselves, from changing the bins to mopping the floor to cleaning the bathroom. That was all something that I have seen Derek and you do many times.
Yeah, and I don't know if Natasha's I don't know if that relationship that I have with Natasha, who's one of our managers, her and I have been friends for 25 years, and it turns out that she was basically my classroom assistant at school. We just didn't know. I didn't know that I had ADHD, and we didn't know that she was, and she's still my classroom assistant basically. But there was always the element of, we always sort of just got stuck in and do whatever needs to get done.
I think that is such a brilliant piece of advice as well, is to just get in there and get it done. Now, we've talked about him already, Derek Bingham. You work alongside your husband, who is Derek Bingham, the principal dentist at Moira Cosmetic Dental. What do you think are the key skills that you both bring to the table that have helped build you a successful practice? I suppose we've touched on this briefly, but I'm sure there's a lot of your yin to his yang.
Yeah, like he's so self-disciplined. It's wild. I just don't have that in me at all. So if he decides that he's doing something, if it's going to take him however many hours, he will spend so much time. He's so conscientious.
Yes.
And
You really
are. Those things that I'm probably not, but I bring the ideas and the enthusiasm to him, and and he will bring like, he's so consistent. He's so dependable. He just is, even in his everyday. If he has a patient in and he's doing a procedure, he will do that procedure the same way every single time. And I know everybody's like, well, everybody does it the same way every single time, but I always remember years ago when he used to do ortho assessments. Back in those days, it was clear step, and one day the OPG machine, we could get the OPG machine working, and I said, look, you're going to have to take the impression, whatever order it was in. I was like, you'll have to do such and such a thing and come back to us because this OPG machine isn't working and we need to restart it or whatever. And he's like, but I do the OPG now. And I'm like, I know, but today you're not, this is going to have to happen in a different order. And it's not that he's not flexible, but he's just so, like, he's a robot, and that is, like, so beneficial.
I think you need that element to anything that's highly skilled, and definitely dentistry is one of those things, particularly placing dental implants, doing orthodontic treatment. Those things are down to the millimetre, and you do need somebody that's very into.
His results are always going to be the same.
Yeah,
it's not
replicable.
Everything's planned out, predicted, and treatment plans an inch in his life. He's off on Monday and he will call in. He has a meeting at church on a Monday night and he will call into the surgery and check his lab work for the next day. It has been checked. It's not that he's checking that it's there, because there's processes in place for the team to check it. But he wants to look at it, he wants to see it, he wants to feel it. I think he's really passionate about the practice and about dentistry, but maybe in a different way than what I am.
And then you complement each other by bringing that passion.
I mean, we're having fallen out. Yeah, I don't know. And Natasha says we do bickering work, but I don't know if you ever.
I always thought that the dynamic was so interesting, because I feel exactly the same, that you bring those two different concepts to the table, but that's why it works. And I think that it's a testament to anybody that can work with their partner. I'm sure my husband wouldn't be able to work.
No, and saying that, we can't abide to be, I can't nurse for him and he can't have me nursing for him. That's a disaster.
That's two on top of each other.
Yeah, it is, because I want to chat to the patients and he's in the zone. He is in the zone. But we rarely disagree.
Yeah, you're always on the same page. Yeah. And I love that. So, what is next for Moira Cosmetic Dental? Where do you see your business heading in the future?
Hopefully we get a new part-time nurse. So.
Fantastic.
That's
tick.
We have just installed a sprint mirror. We're going to start doing a little bit of it.
Amazing.
So I've had, again, a little project for me, refurbishing that room in your building. I know it's not your building anymore, but I find it hard not to get to a building. So we've just renovated a room there. So we're hoping to get that up and running. And I suppose, look, there's always ideas, I think, at this period. So we've a busy family life as well. And Derek and I are heavily involved in our church too. So we've busy lives outside of work, and there's all these different seasons. And I do have plans down the road and training people up to be dental nurses. And we talk about these things. None of us are in the position at the minute. We all have really young families and things, but long term.
I think it's what's on the vision board is always so interesting about where you can go next. And it's really interesting how you talk about seasons, because I think that's actually been a bit of a theme in a few of the people that I've had conversations with, where there are, myself included, there are times when you can dedicate more to one aspect of your life. And there were times before I became a parent where I would eat, sleep, breathe, hygiene. I used to write articles at 2:00 in the morning, and I used to be thinking of every way that we can change, explore, do something different. And I am still really interested and involved from a CPD perspective, but I'm no longer writing articles at 2:00 in the morning.
Yeah, but then you probably actually find that you fit that into your daytime now, because there's nobody more productive than a
Very
mom.
efficient.
Very. So you probably find that where you were writing at 2 a.m. now, that you actually find time at 2 p.m. Where you were your cat before, you thought you were busy before, and then you're like, oh wow, I'm really busy. And I suppose not to turn it into like some sort of feminist agenda.
Oh, I love a feminist agenda.
But I suppose I think the biggest lie that women are told is that you can have everything. I think there's some days where I'm an amazing team member at Moira Cosmetic Dental and I hit it out of the bag, but those days my kids don't have an amazing mum. And there's other days where I'm an amazing mum, but actually I have 14 missed calls from work and I know that I have and I'm not answering the phone. And I think you have to be realistic.
Every time you say yes to something, you say no to something else.
Yeah.
And that has been something that I've sort of taken on as a little bit of my mantra in this new season of my life. And I think that I'm always so inspired by Moira Cosmetic Dental and where the business will go and what's going to be next. I've always thought that it was so interesting how you had the business consultant on board. You are very willing to diversify into different kinds of treatment, and I just know that that will continue on forever until you guys decide to retire. I feel like you might never retire.
I know, and I thought it would be interesting. My Jack's a lot older than me, so you'll have to, I don't know, do I stay on? Like, what happens?
That is the burn. Well, the million dollar question.
Yeah, I don't know. I could work with anybody or anybody else could work with me.
I know that is a crazy thought, but definitely I know there will always be big things to come from Moira Cosmetic Dental. I always loved working there. Thank you so much, Naomi, for being part of Conversations with Dental Friends, and looking forward to seeing what's next for you in your practice.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
You're welcome. What a super episode. Naomi has given us such an honest behind the scenes look at what it really takes to run a successful family-owned dental practice, from building a strong brand to navigating staffing challenges and everything in between. If you're thinking about stepping into practice ownership, refining the way your business runs, or just making your role in dentistry work better for you, I hope this conversation has given you plenty to think about. And with all the exciting things coming up from Moira Cosmetic Dental, I have no doubt Naomi and her team will continue to set the standard for what a modern, patient-focused practice can be. You can follow Moira Cosmetic Dental on Instagram at Moira Cosmetic Dental to see more of their standout branding and content. It's a brilliant example of how a practice can showcase itself online. If you're interested in patient plans and growing your practice sustainably, you'll find more information about Practice Plan in the show notes. For deeper insights into practice leadership and culture, I highly recommend Sheila Scott's book, Putting Health at the Heart of Your Practice. And if you're looking for inspiration or people to learn from, you really just can't go wrong following Chris Barrow, Ashley Latter, Laura Horton and Michael Bentley. And if you enjoy their content, you'll absolutely love Colin Campbell's blog too. If you loved this episode, it would mean so much if you could like, share, follow and subscribe. It really helps get these conversations out to the people who need to hear them. And if you know someone thinking about practice ownership or struggling with staffing and growth, send this their way. For more updates on upcoming episodes, follow at Conversations with Dental Friends on Instagram, and you can find me over there as well at Homegirl Hygienist for more behind the scenes and industry insights. Thank you so much for listening, and I'll see you next week for another episode.
Mm-hmm.